as we are ready for the tip of our Sonic blockbuster. Garrison Brooks, Andrew Platek, Walker Miller, K.J. Smith, 4 seniors, along with the junior Maliki Black. Carolina won the first matchup in Durham, and they're underway here at the Dean Dome. The first possession belongs to the Blue Devils. Duke just 1 game over 500, 11-10 in the season, 9-8 in the ACC, and we've got an immediate offensive foul getting called on DJ Stewart.
Walker Miller right in front of the charge circle. DJ Stewart on that little floater, instead of just stopping, let his momentum carry him in, and Miller just got his feet outside of that charge circle in order to draw it for the first play.
So Miller, again, a guy who plays sparingly, same with K.J. Smith, but they are seniors. Tradition is tradition. They are in the starting lineup, and Miller's already taken a charge. And there have been times where both of these guys have played. K.J. Smith actually started a few games last year for Carolina because of injuries.
Yeah, when Cole Anthony was out, he actually started at Gonzaga and played a lot of minutes during that period.
And there's the senior Garrison Brooks knocking down the shot. And is he hobbling a bit? It looks like he is, Jay. Looks like he came down on that left ankle.
He stepped on Matthew Hurt's foot.
Wendell Moore misses the 3, and the rebound down for Miller. We'll keep an eye on Brooks, and now they will blow the whistle. And Roy Williams wants to know how Brooks is feeling. And oh man, on your senior night in a game of extreme importance, a guy who's been a great player here for 4 years has to leave, and hopefully he will be able to come back into the game.
Well, especially the importance that he is to this team. And you can see Hurt, his foot, the left ankle of Garrison Brooks coming right down on the right foot of Matthew Hurt. And Roy Williams was asking why was that not a foul. I mean, he's an airborne shooter.
And an immediate turnover on the Tar Heels, and again, you just hate to see it. Hopefully Garrison Brooks can come back. Second team all-conference a year ago, and a guy that Roy Williams has just loved coaching for 4 years. And that shake of the head, I don't think that was the turnover. I think that was feeling badly for Garrison Brooks that he had to leave the game.
Well, especially given how important he is to this team in this game, the ability to be able to step out and guard Matthew Hurt. Now all of a sudden you got to put a smaller guy, Leaky Black, on Hurt. And if you have to put Armando Bacot on him, that's a much more difficult matchup for North Carolina.
Hurt, the leading scorer in the ACC at almost 19 a game. This is a 16-footer. And back come the Heels. Carolina, 15-9 on the year, 9-6 in the league. And again, a 10 seed, according to Joe Lunardi. You would think a win here tonight would cement a bid, but lose this one, lose your first game in the ACC tournament. Of course, Jay, you don't want to leave anything to chance.
No, it is so unusual for these two teams to be living the life that most teams live, and that is on or below the bubble. But North Carolina right now, I mean, you don't want to lose the rest of your games, but I think North Carolina is pretty firmly in the field. It's Duke that needs this win and a couple others so that they're not sweating on Selection Sunday.
And we'll show you the ACC tournament seeding depending on who wins what a little bit later on. The seniors have come out of the game now for Carolina, and the big freshman, Day'Ron Sharpe, into the game and immediately into the score sheet as well.
Just a little screen for the screener, a diagonal up screen, and then a screen for the original screener. Day'Ron Sharpe just got really good position down low. He is such a load down there and so powerful.
And right now he's guarding Matthew Hurt at the other end of the court. Stewart walled up by Kerwin Walton, but the cutter is Jeremy Roach, who's got the easy layup.
And Matthew Hurt drawing Day'Ron Sharpe away from the basket. The lane was wide open because Armando Bacot had to be guarding the post, Mark Williams.
Bacot goes right into the chest of Mark Williams and scores.
Bacot has been so aggressive the last couple of games. Aggressive there, but he had 18 points, 15 rebounds against Syracuse.
Hurts 3 around and out. Rebound Walton, and the Heels are pushing. Right into the post. Bacot, and he's called for a travel.
Take a look at Day'Ron Sharpe here. He winds up down low. That's him there. And gets really good position. And they're going right after Matthew Hurt. Get him down in the low post. I mean, that is a mismatch as far as size is concerned, because Hurt does not have a lot of bulk to him. And you go after Hurt, try to pick up a foul on him early, and then keep making him guard in the post.
The double there on Sharp. Aaron pass to Bacot. He has it blocked. Gets it back and finishes.
And Matthew Hurt with the foul on a reach-in. Now Duke came with the double team. That is to protect Matthew Hurt so that he doesn't have to play one-on-one in the post. And Bacot gets it. The shot was blocked by Wendell Moore Jr. And then Hurt, he cannot reach in there. That is a cheap foul, and it's too risky. It's just not worth the effort to reach in, and all of he didn't even stop the play. You allowed the basket, and you pick up a big foul.
So barely 3 minutes into the game, Duke is already down 7. Mark Williams has a foul. Matthew Hurt has a foul. Kind of an ominous start for the Blue Devils here on the road.
Yeah, and you have to expect that at some point in the game, Duke's going to have to play some zone, because if there's not enough pressure put on the guards where they can see in, they're just going to get the ball inside all night long.
This closeout by Walton on Stewart forces him into a tough shot, and the rebound down to the heels.
Nice reach in, too, by Leaky Black. Without coming off his man, he's able to impact that play with a good reach.
Big to big, over the top, Sharp to Bacot.
That's just too difficult to guard Bacot down low. You've got to have more pressure on the passer. Otherwise, it's like Tony Bennett said, there's a great phrase that he turned, saying, you got to put pressure on the ball. We don't want to allow the passer to window shop.
Mark Williams has gone to the bench for Duke with the ball. His replacement, Patrick Tape, the grad transfer from Columbia, who has the second field goal of the night for Duke. And now a Carolina turnover gives it back to the Blue Devils, but overall a good start for the Heels. ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by HM to the 10. NC State becomes the 9, and they would play Syracuse. Carolina would move up to the 6. Virginia, by virtue of its win today over Louisville, and Florida State losing to Notre Dame. Congratulations to Tony Bennett and the Virginia Cavaliers. They are the 2020-21 ACC regular season champions.
Day'Ron Sharp just with a big-time block on Patrick Tape. And Sharp is so big and strong. He's got to be, if he's not the most powerful player in the league, I don't know who would be.
6'11", 265, very bright future. If you are just joining us, Carolina is without Garrison Brooks on senior night. He took and made a shot less than a minute into the game, but when he came back down to the court, landed on the foot of Matthew Hurt, rolled his left ankle. He has gone to the locker room and has not returned.
That was a very smart play by Caleb Love to drive Matthew Hurt.
Shot clock running down. Sharp gets a shot up, out of bounds to Duke.
One of the reasons, Dan, it's so important for North Carolina not to turn the ball over. Not just that, they can give Duke transition opportunities, but they offensive rebound so well that if they just get a shot, they've got a very good chance to get a second shot that's a more high percentage shot than their first one. I mean, you cannot offensive rebound a turnover, and you don't give yourself an opportunity to get fouled either.
It's like the old Georgetown teams, right? Sometimes the best offense is just make sure you get a shot up and then go get it.
Yes, especially for this team, because North Carolina, frankly, is a poor shooting team, but they're a great offensive rebounding team.
Wendell Moore Jr. off to Patrick Tape. That'll be a shot clock violation on the Blue Devils.
A little bit of an odd lineup for Duke right now. And that was an out-of-sync offensive possession. You give credit to North Carolina's defense.
Tape out. Mark Williams comes back in. Again, keep in mind, Williams and Hurt each have a foul. And they're thin up front. They need those two guys on the court as much as possible.
North Carolina's offense is really what has let it down this year. North Carolina's defense has been pretty good. Been top 25 in most of the metrics.
Wide open. Caleb Love, who had 25 in the win in Durham a few weeks ago, rattles home an early three.
He was 4 of 5 from three-point range in that game in Cameron Indoor Stadium. Since then, he was 3 of 22 before he knocked down that one. He must see dark blue like a bull sees red.
Williams picks up his dribble, and now Duke just struggling to maintain possession with a shot clock under 10.
Duke hasn't really penetrated beyond the top of the key in this possession. They're down to 4 seconds on the clock.
Williams rolls, hangs too strong, gets it back, but the initial shot didn't hit the rim, and that's another shot clock violation.
Another really good challenge by Day'Ron Sharpe. Well, Williams has a really good second jump. Long-armed and has played extraordinarily well over his last 6 games.
Coming off an incredible performance, albeit in an overtime loss at Georgia Tech on Tuesday. But Williams went 9 for 9. 20 points, 7 rebounds, 3 blocks, and 3 steals for the freshman who, as Jay said, has been coming on like gangbusters the last few weeks.
Back cut by Walton.
Wow. And give the assist to Walker Kessler, who has just checked into the game.
Another big guy, Walker Kessler, that is coming on big time. But that was a really good back cut by Walton because he was able to stop short and still make that short jumper.
Again, they're playing without Brooks, and Baycott's on the bench, but they've still got Kessler and Sharpe in there right now as Walton steps out of bounds.
Now take a look at number 24 in white, Kerwin Walton. As the ball's being reversed, he just goes backdoor and stops short. As Wendell Moore was coming over, he could have taken it all the way and gotten into a charge, but he just took it right to the short corner, and that is not an easy shot to make. Really a good move and well executed. And right now, Matthew Hurt being guarded by Day'Ron Sharpe out on the perimeter and has not been able to take advantage of it yet.
And Jay, look who's back. Garrison Brooks is back out and immediately went to Roy Williams, said something to Coach Williams, and convinced him he's good to get back into the game.
I don't think it took a lot of convincing. Do you think it was a long argument?
For a proud 4-year player, terrific senior, and good to see him getting a chance to get back in there on this kind of a day.
A little bit ginger in his first movements on it, but not surprised he's fighting through it.
And knocks down a jumper. That didn't take long. And Carolina's out to a 2-touchdown lead on Duke already.
Well, Garrison Brooks averaged 22 points and 9 rebounds against Duke last year. He's another guy that plays very well against dark blue.
What a start for time on ESPN and the app. The Red Raiders are on a 3-game winning streak. And, of course, Baylor's been trying to make up games, right, after the COVID pause. So, big-time Sunday game heading into Champ Week.
Baylor's 4 games in since their long pause, and the last 2 games they have looked like Baylor again. Their game against Oklahoma State played very well.
Williams is fouled on the dunk attempt.
It might have just been a goaltend. It looked like Walker Kessler.
It is a goaltend.
Yeah, Walker Kessler reached up through the basket.
Which is not allowed.
It's not allowed. It is the best way to block a shot, though.
But it is frowned upon. If Williams the bucket.
He's going to make it anyways.
Yeah.
Good opportunity to. Good try.
So if you count that as a dunk, which I imagine they do, now 24 of Williams' 50 field goals are dunks. But Caleb Love has knocked down his second 3 already.
Caleb Love has really struggled shooting the ball this year. He's a 23% three-point shooter, except against Duke.
21-6 Carolina on senior night in Chapel Hill. A big night for 4 members of the program, none more so than Garrison Brooks.
It's on you.
Garrison! Come on, get to the board!
94 feet. The best part is Andrew Platek. He's a grimy dude.
Yeah. But he meant that in a positive way.
Of course.
Yeah. And
you're a grimy dude.
Absolutely. But yeah. There's nothing better than asking a college basketball player to imitate his coach. Garrison Brooks did a great job. But you know what? When you put up the kind of numbers that Garrison Brooks has put up over 4 years, and when you're the quality of person that Garrison Brooks is, and Roy Williams loves him, you can get away with doing coach imitations.
Well, he's not just a respected teammate. He's a respected player throughout the league. Anybody who's played against Garrison Brooks, knows you're going to get the ultimate competitor, and he's a quiet leader, but he's been so productive in his career and one of the best position defenders you're ever gonna find. I mean, he knows everybody's position out on the floor.
What a start for Carolina. In spite of missing Brooks for a few minutes with an injury, they are up 21-6. They are 9 of 13 from the floor. Caleb Love's knocked down a couple of threes, and Duke can't get anything going to the offensive end.
Carolina needs to look for Garrison Brooks. He's being guarded by Matthew Hurt. Let him touch the ball.
Step back jumper, and he knocks it down with a shot clock running down.
Not really what I was talking about, but it works. I thought more in the low post.
And Carolina extends the lead.
And Carolina's pressure, Duke hasn't been able to get into any offense. I mean, it took them 8 seconds just to get into something, and they've kept everything on one side of the floor thus far.
The Blue Devils coming in off a couple of overtime losses against Louisville, at Georgia Tech. Every loss they've had in conference play this year, there have been 8 of them, has been a close game. None of them has been by more than 7 points. And again, the last 2 in overtime. But as Mike Krzyzewski has said to a number of people, including us yesterday when we zoomed with him, he said at some point you got to win those games. And they are specializing in narrow defeats. But they got to win a couple games if they're going to have any chance of getting into the NCAA tournament.
That's exactly right. And Duke continuing to double the low post. And that was a wide open shot for Matthew Hurt, not even close. But he's not been able to establish any rhythm. North Carolina has disrupted Duke's rhythm completely in this game.
Bacot into the chest of Hurt, too strong off the glass, and then Williams just threw it right to Leaky Black. And I think we have a shot clock issue, but Leaky Black just kind of playing free safety, jumped in there and stole that outlet pass. I think they're talking about whether possession changed and whether or not the shot clock should have been reset. And I think it did. I mean, Williams was down with a rebound and then threw it to Black. So.
Yeah. I mean, that was a steal, not like that was a loose ball rebound. Yeah, this was a pass. Yeah, that was definitely a change of possession.
Yeah. So they leave the shot clock at 27 where it was, and Carolina inbounds. R.J. Davis, another member of the freshman class. These are 2 of the youngest teams in the country. Black with a cut and a feed, and Bacot with a finish.
Just a beautiful pass after that cut through the defense and found Bacot at the front of the rim. And Bacot put a little extra into that dunk. But just a beautiful play and beautifully executed by North Carolina.
26-6, almost 11 minutes in. David Brakefield into the game for the Blue Devils, and good defense there by Day'Ron Sharpe.
Yeah, Day'Ron Sharpe has moved his feet very effectively.
Switching on to a guard. Brakefield over Bacot.
Brakefield is a scorer, but his last couple of games, just 2 of 10 from the field, 0 of 5 from 3. Maybe getting a layup in a game like this will calm him down a little bit. He'll be able to execute.
And Garrison Brooks out of the game again, and now maybe testing out that ankle in the stationary bite. And hopefully again can come back into the game. Ankles are funny, right? They could seize up on you and then feel better, but you never know right away just how serious it is. Got a foul on the floor going on Brakefield.
Watch this passing by North Carolina on that last possession. The backdoor cut drew the defense. Nobody helps. A little drop-off pass to Armando Bacot. Henry Coleman III's got to come over. And if DJ Stewart doesn't drop in there, and he's awfully small to have to do that, you're going to give up that dunk.
I got a stat for you, Jake. Carolina's got 9 assists on 11 field goals, and 8 different Tar Heels already have an assist in this.
Let's talking about moving the ball and being unselfish. What a great shot by Stewart.
He's got a chance for a 4-point play.
DJ Stewart also has struggled his last couple of games. He was 4 of 21 his last 2, and R.J. Davis just got a little piece of him as an airborne shooter. Caught his arm after the ball had been released. You just want to get pressure on the shot. You're not going to block that.
And a contender for ACC Rookie of the Year, the leading scorer among freshmen in the ACC. And look at the emotion on him trying to rally the troops.
He played really well against Syracuse last Monday night. He had 21 points, 7 assists against the Orange. Full court pressure, North Carolina beating it with relative ease. And they're going to a horn set. Don't run a ton of this.
Sharp. Brakefield tries to step in and takes a charge, but gets called for the block. And it'll be Sharp at the line with Carolina up by 14. What a still, including a win over Virginia. That's the second to last one on the way up there. But then, as we mentioned, the overtime losses to Louisville and Syracuse, and down by a significant margin early in this one. If they lose this game, Jay, they're 11-11, 9-9, and at that point, you got to believe they probably have to win the ACC tournament in order to get into the NCAA tournament.
Well, first, where did we find that yodeling music? That was outstanding. Have to go all the way to Switzerland to bring back something that compelling.
Well, as our producer Jeff Dufine tells me, he's a very busy man during the week. 28-12 Carolina.
Got a switch now. Day'Ron Sharp has gone on Wendell Moore, but another turnover for Duke. That's got to be like 7 turnovers.
I believe it is precisely 7 turnovers for the Blue Devils.
Well, it's looking like a snowman there. It's got 8, but who's the number of turnovers? It's been remarkable. Now wow. Turnabout's fair play. You got to turn and face. Day'Ron Sharp didn't face the defense there and just threw it over his shoulder. And that's one of the first live ball turnovers North Carolina's had. Most of them they've pitched out of bounds, and at least they could play 5-on-5 with ease.
Jeremy Roach with a big man on him. Sharp on a switch, kicks it into the corner for Stewart. This lineup right now for Duke, no Mark Williams, no Matthew Hurt, each of them picking up an early foul in this game. Neither one has picked up a second, but they're both on the bench right now. But they're both getting ready to check back in, both at the scorer's table.
Carolina getting a post touch and one-on-one in the post. And no second shots at all for Duke. Carolina hadn't needed too many because they haven't missed a ton of shots.
And Duke's knocked down just 1 3-pointer, 1 for 8 from 3. Carolina, which is not a good shooting team, 3 for 4 from 3-point range. And remember, in the first game against Duke, it was their best 3-point shooting game of the season. They went 10 for 15 in that game from beyond the arc.
Good box out by Brakefield. He's boxing out Armando Bacot, who had an opportunity to go after that rebound, but Brakefield just took his legs out from under.
Wow, Stewart with some determination getting to the glass right there.
And that's what you're going to need is turn the corner, get into the paint, put some pressure on this North Carolina defense. Duke has not done much of that in this first half. They're actually fortunate to only be down 14.
Over to Walton. Guarded now by Coleman. Kicks it out to Sharp. 6 to shoot. Deep one low. Wendell Moore Jr. has been playing some really good basketball. Did not have a good start to the season, or at least in the month of December, but he's been coming on very well the last several weeks. Again, a good challenge, and again, no second opportunities, as Jay mentioned, for Duke.
Not just that big body, but able to block it. That was a good take by Brakefield on the offensive foul. Just lowered that shoulder and went right into the chest of Brakefield instead of going straight up. You go straight up, you'll be able to complete this play here, but as a clear offensive foul with a discard.
A little shoulder, a little forearm, and the first on Bacot. Hurt and Williams have returned for Duke.
The key for Duke is going to be to get this 14-point lead. If by halftime you could get it down under 10, and then you can have a ball game in the second half.
Well, Stewart's trying to do it. He's probably been the best Blue Devil to this point of the night.
So good with that floater. Not an easy shot. Good.
And the best shooter on this Tar Heel team Kerwin Walton knocks down the three. That is his 48th made three-pointer this season.
Leads him in three-point field goals made, three-point field goal percentage, free throw percentage. Best shooter by far.
Goldwire turns it over on the alley-oop attempt. Numbers for the Heels. Davis with a pull-up. And they get it back. Love. Well short.
It's too tough of a shot. Didn't need it. And especially when you've got those big guys. If you don't have something good, pull it out and run something.
Hurt for three. They have got to get him going. You would think to have any chance of winning the game. The leading scorer in the ACC is scoreless. Better than 15 minutes into the game.
He's not gotten any consistent touches, and when he has, he's taken a couple challenge shots and hadn't come close on either one of them.
Brooks to Kessler. Kessler's been playing really, really well lately. Carolina's leading scorer in 2 different games recently, and the reigning ACC Freshman of the Week.
He is so skilled, great hands, and he's playing with a ton of confidence now. Remember, Roy Williams told us earlier in the year, he beats himself up. That's a turnover. That's off Stewart. He beats himself up a little bit mentally, but he's in a great spot now.
33-16 Heels. ESPN's exclusive presentation.
I went to a Lil Baby concert with Brandon Robinson.
Name a song that you know every word to and can sing with every word.
Jeezy seen it all.
And do you do that before games?
Before games, every time.
All right, one teammate to be with you for the Hunger Games.
All right.
Andrew Playtech, because he a grimy dude.
All right, last thing you binge watched.
The Office.
All right, well, who's your favorite character in The Office?
Dwight Schrute.
Name one thing that Coach Williams says to you all the time when he gets on you.
Halftime reports coming. Virginia wins the ACC. Io's back. Got to get Matt Hurt going.
They have no shot of winning this game if Matt Hurt doesn't get going. 0 for 4 in this game, Seth.
The only way Duke gets back in the game is if Carolina makes bad decisions, takes bad shots, and doesn't take care of the ball.
Now, both teams have turned it over a lot of the first half. Duke 10 times, Carolina 8 times, but Carolina shooting 54%, Duke just 32%.
Duke switching just about everything except with Mark Williams.
Shot clock at 6. Love gets a switch. 3 over Hurt. And the long rebound down to Joey Baker.
One of the few threes that North Carolina's missed in this game.
Good position inside. Williams with a follow, and the second time is good.
Yeah, Walker Kessler just got caught on the high side of Mark Williams, gave him an angle to the basket.
A very talented and big freshman in Mark Williams and Walker Kessler. Wow. Kerwin Walton.
He is a pure shooter. You have to make him play on the move, not just put the ball on the floor, because he can dribble into his shot. But you got to make him hunt shots and chase shots.
Jay, the least heralded member of the freshman class, as you know, at times has been maybe the best of the freshmen when he's been shooting the ball very well.
Well, he can make shots, and he gives a special lift to this team when he knocks shots down. It's different when another shot goes in for a player. A little crossover and dribbles to his right into that shot. It just has a beautiful stroke and fantastic balance.
Carolina shooting the 3 extremely well in the win at Duke. Shooting it extremely well here tonight. Not so much in between, but making them count against the Blue Devils.
Really remarkable, the contrast between how they've shot the ball against Duke and then the games in between.
Elbow jumper for Love, who's having a nice first half.
Nobody stopped the ball. Mike Krzyzewski telling his team, calm down a little bit. Let's get a good shot on the other end. But Caleb Love will just waltz into that shot, and yet another turnover. It dribbled right off of Wendell Moore's foot, went across the line, and it was due to the pressure of Caleb Love. Now, Caleb Love gets this rebound, pushes it up, and nobody really stops the ball. He's able to just dribble to the elbow. Everyone almost in retreat mode, trying to keep him from getting to the basket, getting deep into the paint, but he just pulls up for that shot. And he is playing with a ton of confidence in this game.
A guy who was not really a point guard in high school, he was a scorer. He's had to take on, and knew he was taking on, point guard responsibilities when he committed to North Carolina. The kick to Brooks, 19-footer, banks it in.
Well, that's when you know it's going your way. But just dragging the defense to the left and throwing back. So you either had the shot or you had a high-low opportunity.
Very balanced scoring so far for Carolina. Goldwire with a nice look. Extra pass Moore. And the three will go down for Matthew Hurt. His first points of the game.
Got that off of Carolina being in rotation. They had to help the helper, and all of a sudden the guy left wide open was Matthew Hurt on the left wing.
And Love lost the ball out of bounds, and it is going to be a turnover. It will belong to Duke.
Well, Garrison Brooks, his last couple of games, he was 6 of 11 from the field, averaging just under 8 points a game in his last two. But he's come out firing in this one.
Hasn't missed a shot. 4 for 4, 9 points in the game.
Knocked down not only that three, but one from the corner as the clock was going down. He was well defended on that one too.
Inside the final minute of the first half. Half that's been dominated by Carolina. There's a foul on R.J. Davis. The New York Life ACC tournament begins Tuesday on the ACC network. They'll have all three first-round games for you at 2, 4:30, and 7. And then Wednesday, all of the second-round games will be on the ACC network as well. Noon, 2:30, 6:30, and 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Go to getACCN.com for instant access. So let's take Duke, for example. If Duke loses this game, they are the 10 seed. That means, Jay, they would have to play on Tuesday against the 15 seed. They would have to play on the first day of the ACC tournament.
Unusual position for the Blue Devils. Good drive by Matthew Hurt. Getting a couple buckets before halftime so he can try to establish some sort of rhythm, but North Carolina has denied him any rhythm in this game.
Trying to go the distance. Offensive rebound for Bacot, and he's fouled.
If North Carolina puts themselves in position to grab those rebounds, it's one thing to have big bodies. It's another thing to have big bodies that are relentless in going after the glass. And every time a shot goes up, North Carolina's big guys position themselves, one on the weak side, and they go to the glass every opportunity and don't miss one.
Number 1 in the nation in offensive rebound percentage. They get 41% of their misses.
Now, Roy Williams would tell you we missed too many shots. I like the percentage of the misses. I'd like fewer offensive rebounds because I'd like fewer missed shots.
Yep.
Because this is not a good shooting team. Little horn set with Brakefield and Hurt up top. Two players in the corners, shooters to spread the floor. In the trap.
Goldwire finds Hurt. Hurt finds Stewart. And Stewart finds the bottom of the net.
Well handled to get out of that trap and find Stewart on the opposite eye.
And the three at the end for Stewart makes the score a little bit closer. But Garrison Brooks on his senior night, despite an ankle injury, playing very well. Duke faces its largest halftime deficit.
The lead. I mean, North Carolina still has young guards. They have turned the ball over on the season at a 21% rate. That's 1 out of 5 possessions results in a turnover. So if Duke can get a few stops, a few scores, and get it under 10, they've got a ball game. Now Duke starting out in a 2-3 zone, try to limit some of the penetration and try to disrupt some of the rhythm that North Carolina established in the first half.
And underway here in the second half of our Sonic blockbuster. Nice shot fake and step in by Wolf.
Just a beautiful shot fake. Defender flew by, one dribble, and they say the mid-range shot is dead. It is not. Kerwin Walton keeping it alive. That was a huge first possession for North Carolina.
Good position by Williams, and he slams it home over Bacot.
Bacot just gave him the angle there and then compounded the mistake by fouling. Watch, Williams gets an angle, and then you see his right arm wrapped around him, but he just, post players call that selling out. You kind of go for the steal or the knockaway, and you give your offensive player the angle to the basket, and that's just too easy for Mark Williams.
The biggest positive in recent weeks for the Blue Devils probably has been the rapid development of Mark Williams as he is getting big-time minutes and not only protecting the rim but also becoming a much better offensive player. And Duke comes out in the second half in a zone.
And North Carolina looking to screen the zone. They'll keep somebody behind it. Right now it's Baycott, and they usually do a good job rebounding against zones. They dominated Syracuse on the glass but weren't able to take advantage of it.
Hurt with a clean look. Way short.
This has not been the Matthew Hurt we've seen the last 6 games, that they're shooting 59% from 3.
Baycott has it knocked away by Williams, and Duke comes up with it. They got to string together some stops and scores to try to get back into this one.
Williams does that quite a lot, knocking the ball away. He's got very good hands, able to get a piece of the ball. Oftentimes when a big guy reaches with one hand, that results in a foul.
24 on the shot clock is what we were being told. Brian Dorsey, Bert Smith, and Ron Gruber, the officials here in Chapel Hill.
North Carolina doing a little almost pre-switching on out of bounds.
Wendell Moore Jr. hangs and hits, and they got it down to 13.
Well, Duke playing much stronger to start this second half. 2-2-1. 3/4 court pressure now back into this 2-3 zone. That length in the middle because of that 7'4" wingspan of Mark Williams. And Carolina's trying to get some movement, and they move the big guys around.
Leaky Black, not a great outside shooter. He's made 8 threes all season, and 4 of them came in one game against Miami as he comes up empty there.
Well, he's 4 of 4 against Miami. He had 16 points in that game. Andrew Platek wound up hitting the game winner against the Hurricanes in that one.
Well, I'm not sure Mike Krzyzewski's going to love that shot. A quick 3 from Jamin Brakefield. And now they don't find Walton in transition, and it costs.
Well, because of that bad shot that you're talking about by Brakefield, you're not able to get down court and establish your defense. And it's easy to lose Walton in transition because of the bad shot. A bad shot is the first pass in your opponent's fast break. Well, North Carolina is known for its transition. Leaky Black off the rebound, getting it up to Love. The cross-court pass. Duke in scramble mode. And a great job by Walton of finding the open spot. And then a great job by Caleb Love of finding the open man.
Caleb Love has 6 assists already in this game.
He's been really under control in this one. And look, the last 3 games, North Carolina's turned the ball over 60 times. They had 20 turnovers against Syracuse.
Jordan Goldwire pushing it for Duke and lays it in.
Aggressive play by Goldwire. Nobody stopped the ball. And Love's going to have to be a little bit careful. He was able to draw a foul there, but that was not a strong pass. And you throw the ball cross court like that, you're inviting somebody to shoot the gap and take it the other way for an easy 2.
In terms of seeding, Carolina will be either the 6 or the 7 of the ACC tournament. Duke will be either the 9 or the 10, depending on the outcome of this game.
Well, obviously this year has been odd in so many ways and unprecedented. But you have nobody played a similar schedule. It's hard to even compare all the different records. Even if they played the same number of games. I mean, North Carolina's played so many teams from the top 10 in the league. And they played more games against the top 10 of the league than anybody else. And then they played more road games against good teams than I think anybody else. Really been odd.
And Carolina had 4 games canceled due to COVID issues in league play. Duke had 2 games canceled. And then Carolina went out and rescheduled a couple of games. They brought Northeastern and Marquette here into the Dean Dome. And, of course, they lost the Marquette game.
Yeah, that made for some fun post-game sound.
Coach Williams was not thrilled with the line of questioning. But again, they appear to have a really good case at the moment of being on the right side of the bubble. Joey Brackets has them as a 10 seed. And a win here today would make it an even stronger case heading into Greensboro.
Yeah, I think North Carolina's firmly in the field. That doesn't mean you lose your next couple of games that you make it. But I think the Tar Heels are in very good shape to make the field.
If Duke loses this game tonight, do you think they have to win the ACC tournament, or if they made, say, a run to the final and beat a couple of ranked teams, might that be?
They'd have to beat Florida State and Virginia to do it, because you have to have those. There aren't as many high-value targets in the league this year as there have been in past years. The league is not rated the same way that it usually is.
Love using the screen, driving past Hurt, and gets a tough one to go, and he's fouled as well.
What a tough move by Caleb Love. There you can see the scoring ability of the freshman from St. Louis. Physical. A volume shooter in high school that's learning to play the point, but he knows how to do this. Strong, accepting contact, finishing the play. Never took his eyes off the rim.
Got a great game for you tomorrow afternoon. Big 12 action. Texas Tech is in Waco to take on the third-ranked Baylor Bears tomorrow at 4 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN, and also streaming live on the app. How about a big win? Speaking of the Big 12, how about a big win for Oklahoma State on the road in Morgantown today? Jay, without Cade Cunningham, trying to work his way back from an ankle injury.
Really remarkable. Avery Anderson wound up with, I think he had 25 points. It was fantastic. That is an excellent recruiting class that Mike Boynton has at Oklahoma State. His freshmen have done a great job, and it goes beyond Cade Cunningham.
When you look at the 7 teams in the Big 12 who are going to get into the tournament, don't you think all of them have Sweet 16 capabilities if they play well?
Yes. I don't think there's much question about that. It just depends on the matchup they get. But both the Big 10 and Big 12 have proven that they can compete with anybody and beat anybody.
Illinois in the game before us today here on ESPN with a nice win in Columbus. Ayo Dosunmu back despite a facial injury, playing with a mask, and played, from what we saw near the end of the game, made some big plays and looked like himself. Baycott in transition for the Heels.
Duke cannot get anything to go right now. Trying to answer back after North Carolina gets a relatively easy one with Baycott after the turnover, and lob it up to Williams. Can't get it to go. And Matthew Hurt continues to struggle. Missed that last shot. He's got 5 points in this one. Who could have imagined that he would have this kind of game after the tear he has been on?
And he had 37 last week against Louisville.
He's gone 6 games where he couldn't miss. Now, Caleb Love has really had a good game.
Step back 3.
Maybe not the shot you wanted, but I think he's a good shooter that has not shot the ball well this year. I think he's got all the capabilities to be a good shooter.
7 assists tonight. Williams tries to go underneath and is fouled by Brooks.
He got fouled right away, but the referees didn't call it. It almost looked like Brooks was trying to give the foul when Williams first caught it, and then fouled him when he was going up for the shot on the other side of the rim. Watch here. That's it. He came over. That's a foul, and the referees didn't call it. And then they fouled. Or they called this one. You know, you're supposed to call the first foul, and that was a foul without question. Well, North Carolina off the bad shot. Nobody expecting it for Duke. Just running the floor and essentially getting a 3-on-1. And Caleb Love hitting the trailer. Armando Baycott, the big guy, running the floor. And the fast break points are going in favor of North Carolina. But everything's gone in favor of North Carolina. They have just dominated this game from start until now.
And again, it's just got to wear on opposing big men. Brooks and Baycott go out, and Sharp and Kessler come in. One 6'11", one 7'1". Yeah, they're both freshmen, both McDonald's All-Americans, terrific talents. There's just no limit. There's a steal by Tape, who's just come in for Williams.
Yeah, it's a different way to construct a basketball game. Most teams are going more for threes, and that's why you turn it over. You are inviting another turnover.
And then a foul. Drew Baker thought he came up with a clean steal, and Roy Williams wants them to take a little bit better care of the ball right now.
Well, he just wants them to come to the ball. You know, you can cut down the time the ball's in the air by coming to the ball and running it into your hands. And right now, you know, North Carolina going into spots, they've gone into the corner where they're easy to get trapped. It's just a question of being strong with the ball. You catch, face the defense before you dribble.
Davis now handling. Love playing off the ball at the moment to the heels.
Oh, what a pass.
And Kessler slams it home.
Just a beautiful pass by Caleb Love. And Day'Ron Sharpe did a very nice job of, on the baseline drive, getting in front of the rim. Big guy needs to get in front of the rim to allow that pass. Really well done. Kessler did a really nice job when he didn't have it, passing out of the post. And what a great pass. A little one-handed bounce pass, a little pocket pass right here. And Day'Ron Sharpe, you go to block that shot, and it opens up the offensive glass. So if he makes it, great. If he doesn't, Kessler's there to clean that up.
And how often, Jay, do good things happen just because a big guy cuts to the rim when he sees a guard putting the ball on the deck?
Yeah, especially when he puts it on the deck baseline. You know, depending on where it's coming from, that's where you move to different spots. But on a baseline drive, you go right in front of the rim. But, you know, Dan, I mean, there's so few teams that have these kind of big guys.
Yeah.
Where, you know, you pass it to one, and he draws defenders, you put the shot up, and then you got somebody just as big, just as talented to clean it up. And it's really remarkable, the core of big man that North Carolina has. And if the guards, these young guards, and this is extraordinary, both of these are young teams, but North Carolina's got very young guards just like Duke. As soon as they start to play at a higher level where they're more efficient in taking care of the ball and deliver it inside, I mean, this is a well-constructed team.
A turnover. And what a block! Leaky Black from behind, but then did not reestablish himself in bounds, so it'll be Duke ball. But what a play by Black.
Got it with the left hand. And Leaky Black has long arms, did not give up on the play. Just a good pass ahead. Took it away with the left hand. Oh, that's a fantastic play. And he almost got his feet established before he touched the ball.
Roach, who's had a very quiet night so far for Duke, is fouled. Roach has been the ultimate hot and cold player this year for Duke. Here are his point totals the last 8 games. 16-16, 2-2, 12-14, 3-3. It's kind of feast or famine for Roach.
Bingo.
Jay, I worked very hard on that.
Boy, Walker Kessler is blossoming into an outstanding. He's going to be a great player. He's really good now, but he's going to be great.
11:52 to go, second half. Carolina up 16. Champions. And Virginia with a win today over Louisville, and Florida State losing at Notre Dame. That gave the Hoos a regular season title.
How about the way Michigan bounced back from that performance they had against Illinois, where the Illini just, without Ayo Dosunmu, just crushed them in Chrysler. And they turn around and put a beat down on Michigan State. And those two teams play again tomorrow. And what's an NBA type schedule for Michigan State, the way they're finishing their season.
Michigan State, according to Joey Brackets, on the right side of the bubble right now. But again, everything is tenuous for so many different teams at this point heading into Champ Week.
Day'Ron Sharpe's done a nice job guarding out on the perimeter. He's a big guy that usually plays down in the post, but he's done very well when his assignment out on the perimeter has been Matthew Hurt at times. Right now is Jamin Brakefield. He's been able to move his feet and stay in front and not commit fouls.
Williams out again as Roach steps to the line for the Blue Devils.
Duke going with a smaller lineup. Try to move these Carolina big guys around, see if they can open up some driving lanes.
Talked a little bracketology a moment ago, and Joe Lunardi, we mentioned Michigan State. He's got him on the right side. He's got Duke as the last of the first four out, if you will, but on the wrong side of the bubble. And down by 17 here in Chapel Hill means they're going to have to do extremely well in Greensboro to have a chance. Of course, if you win the tournament, you get the automatic bid, but a loss today for Duke would drop them to 500 at 11-11 on the season. And
got a carry.
I think they
got a foul.
Yeah,
wow.
Foul on Roach.
Well, Duke has to put pressure on North Carolina now. It's not that they necessarily have to take risks, but you're going to see full court pressure trying to see if you can speed North Carolina's guards up, make their big guys and non-handlers handle the ball a little bit more. So for Carolina, it's just about being strong with the ball.
And they can be turnover prone. 20 a game the last three, as Jay mentioned earlier. Sharp, nobody to pass to. And how many big guys can do what Day'Ron Sharp just did at that size to make that move, put the ball on the deck from out there, and wind up with the free throw line?
I would say at least one. Just a really good job by Sharp. He puts the ball on the deck and is able to maneuver around Matthew Hurt to try to get that shot up with the left hand, draw the foul. But you can see he's just got really good feet. Just his power. And we've talked about the fact that he's a good passer. And per minute, he's the best offensive rebounder in the country. Leads this team in offensive rebounds, even though he only plays about 20 minutes per game.
He's the one name really on this Carolina roster. He's the one guy whose name shows up on NBA mock drafts and that sort of thing. If he goes, for sure, he'd get drafted. I mean, you can see the size and the skill. But you could also foresee, Jay, if he came back, that he could turn into a monster next year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, this team, this North Carolina team, and it goes for Duke as well. If Kerwin Walton is, man, that guy's a shooter. What a weapon he has become and can be. But I think this North Carolina roster, first of all, I think they all should come back. Anybody who wants to leave, you should. That's fine. But it's almost like an old school construction of a team that they can grow together. Yeah. And I think even Roy Williams said, looking at this recruiting class, if he had this recruiting class back at Kansas, he'd be talking about how great is this group going to be going forward. So just no time wasted and efficient motion, because Kerwin Walton's ready to shoot before the ball ever gets there. You know, that's the mentality he has. And I think as he goes forward in his career, you're going to see more and more teams. You know, he's going to be what you would call a no closeout guy. You want to stay as close to him all the time, so you never have to close out. And he's going to have to start hunting shots and doing a lot more work to get an open shot.
And getting back to, you know, the growth of the freshman class, you can unquestionably see how Caleb Love can grow as he.
Oh yeah,
you can see how Walker Kessler can grow as he, you know, with Brooks. Presumably Brooks doesn't come back. Remember, this is a free year, and any senior can come back. But let's assume that Harrison Brooks doesn't come back. We don't know about Sharp. You assume Baycott will. And then you got Kessler. Like, Kessler's going to get a lot more minutes, and he's going to become a big factor.
He's going to be a great player. But I would apply the same analysis to Duke's lineup. That DJ Stewart, Jeremy Roach, these are really good prospects and good players. And, you know, they've had some ups and downs in their freshman year, which happens to guys. There's a difference between an R.J. Barrett and a Zion Williamson than most highly rated, you know, top 25 players. You know, some are supernovas like those guys. You know, these guys are not that. But that is not, you don't mean that as a slight to say, hey, you know, it's going to take these guys a little bit longer to be great.
Meanwhile, the senior's having a pretty good night, isn't he?
Well, Garrison Brooks is not just having a good game now. He was the preseason player of the year. He has not had his best year. Last year was fantastic. But he is going out of the Smith Center. The right
love from his buddies.
You know, Garrison Brooks, when he arrived at North Carolina as a freshman from Alabama, he was prepared to play right away. And really nice backdoor play, DJ Stewart. That's a tough finish over Armando Baycott. But Garrison Brooks had almost next level understanding of how to defend as a college player.
Carolina actually gives out a Defensive Player of the Game award in every game, unless they're displeased with everybody. Every now and again, nobody gets one. But Garrison Brooks, in his 4 years, Jay, to your point, has won the Defensive Player of the Game award 37 times.
And so I think since 2007, the only one with more is Marcus Page.
Good job by Davis to find Anthony Harris, moving the ball nicely. Brooks is feeling it from beyond the arc, but comes up short. Hurt just lost it. Or was that deflected by Brooks? I don't think Brooks. We're not sitting down at the court. We're up a fair ways from the court, but it didn't look to me like Brooks touched that ball.
Brooks just lost Hurt in transition after that shot attempt, and that's too easy.
Bacon.
North Carolina just against this small lineup, they need to put the ball. Well, they got Williams back in the game. They need to put the ball inside at every opportunity to play inside out. The one thing you don't want to do with this kind of lead, 20-point lead, there's still 8.5 to go in regulation. You don't want to be putting up perimeter shots unless the ball's touched the paint.
You know, if you're a Carolina fan, you can watch them at times and say, you know what, their good is really good. Like they beat Louisville 99-54 a couple of weeks ago. Then they lost to Marquette. Then they beat Florida State, but then they lose at Syracuse. It's not that they're not talented. It's not that they're not capable of being really good. They just haven't really been able to sustain it for too long.
Well, that's often the difference between the good teams and the really good teams is high-level consistency. And North Carolina's not been consistent at the highest level. They've had turnover issues, and that's because their guards are young. Duke's gone through the same thing. I mean, Duke's turned the ball over like crazy during the year as well, and that affected their defense and led to a lot of different issues for that team. But now both teams starting to throw the ball all over the place.
Wendell Moore off to Goldwire, back to Moore for the bucket. Quiet night for Moore, just his 4th point of the night. 7:27 to go. Carolina with a healthy lead. ESPN's exclusive presence, Ty Larson, student manager, got into the game on senior day, came in against Iowa State in the closing seconds of the game, Jay, and stepped in and took a charge. How fun, how cool, and look at the reaction from his teammates. This is the best.
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, all the walk-ons and deep bench players put in the same amount of work, the same amount of time, and the way they play well against Iowa State, and almost got beat. They did not play well at all against Kansas, and Kansas was great in Allen Fieldhouse. But against Oklahoma State the other night, I thought Baylor was terrific, and Jared Butler looked like himself again. A number of coaches had told Scott Drew that they felt like, and that's not like everybody's got a ton of experience with it, they felt like it took a few games. Another great cut by Daron Sharp and doing chin-ups on the rim. I think the rim was a little bit frightened when he went up there. It's his movement and mobility. The pass, the give and go still works. DJ Stewart turns his head. Mark Williams a little late coming over. But even if he got there, that is one powerful young man. And a very nice touch as well. So power and touch.
Carolina's been in control pretty much from the opening tip.
I think they didn't win the opening tip, but won everything since then.
Up 21 right now. In a very competitive game at Duke a few weeks ago in the first matchup of the regular season. Stewart swatted away by Bacon. And out of bounds, back to Duke.
And you can see the next step for Mark Williams, who has really improved and is a fine player, is to get stronger in his lower base, because he's going up against two players in Sharp and Bacot that are much stronger in their lower bodies and able to move him around. So he can't establish that position and hold his ground as easily as he'd like.
Goldwire with about a 25-footer with a shot clock running down off the back of the iron. You know, and just during that last sequence, we started to hear the chant of Tar Heels. There are fans in the building. Just the second time. They were here for the win over Florida State last week I think about 3,000 fans, and most of the tickets given to students, although they're not all in the student section. There's obviously, for distancing reasons, spread out around the arena. But, you know, you talk to coaches and you hear from players, even having 2,500, 3,000 fans is a tremendous difference, Jay, from playing in an empty arena.
Yes, no question. And it's nice to see. You know, we've been in arenas during the year with fans, whether it was at Baylor or Texas Tech. You know, we've seen it first time in the ACC. We've seen it. At least I've seen it, and it's nice to have.
Baycott and Coleman, they're high school teammates. They're all tangled up. And Bert Smith went in there and said, "Hey, you two." And then they said, "No, we know each other.
We're good."
Yeah. We are high school buddies. They played together. That's funny. Both of them out of Richmond, Virginia.
We've had a lot of battles together and pickup games and AAU and high school, you name it, high school practice.
That must be a funny moment for an official. He rushes over to break it up, and they're like, no, it's good. We're like family. We're good.
R.J. Davis doing a nice job staying front defensively and switches off on Matthew Hurt. Solid job.
Well, Hurt follows up his own miss, tips it up and in. Duke try. Wow. Moore going for the steal and wound up flattening Davis. The crowd didn't like that.
Just reaching across his body and clear foul, but it didn't look like there was any intent to do anything more than just go after the ball.
And then he kind of landed on the ball too on his right side as he hit the deck, and fortunately Davis is okay.
You know, one of the things though, when you are in a game that, you know, is a little bit out of hand, and still almost 6 minutes to go, so there's still time, but you want to be mindful that when you go to the basket, oftentimes you want to go off of 2 feet so that you can protect yourself, because you know your opponent's going to come after it and trying to make something happen.
Again, a loss for Duke in this game. They will be the 10 seed in the ACC tournament, which means they will have to play a first-round game on Tuesday. 10 through 15 have to play on Tuesday. 3 games there, and that gets them down to 12 for the second round on Wednesday. That is all assuming, we should just mention this once, that Virginia Tech is there. The Hokies have been off the field, a couple of games canceled due to COVID issues, contact tracing. And hopefully Virginia Tech is going to be able to play in Greensboro this year. Here's how the bracket would look if Carolina wins this game, and they're up 19 with 5:28 to go. Again, Virginia, the regular season champs because of their win today and the Florida State loss. Seminoles 2, Hokies 3, Georgia Tech the 4 seed, so they get a double bye. Clemson 5, and then if Carolina wins, they're the 6, and if Duke loses this game, they are the 10.
Well, it's a remarkable turnaround for Georgia Tech. You know, when the Yellow Jackets started the season, they had lost some games that were head scratchers. Now, they weren't able to practice. They were playing more games than they were having practices. But how about Moses Wright? And Moses Wright may very well be the ACC Player of the Year with the way he has performed, especially not just all season long, but the way he's performed the second half of the ACC season. There's been nobody better than him. I know that.
He is 3rd in the league in scoring and 3rd in the league in rebounding. So he certainly got first-team All-ACC credentials at the very least, you would think.
And he's blocking shots. I mean, he's been dominant.
You know, Justin Champagnie of Pitt obviously putting up huge numbers. Matthew Hurt's gotten a lot of notoriety for the kind of year that he's had as an ACC Player of the Year candidate. Sam Hauser for Virginia, the best three-point shooter in the league, will get a lot of attention. I think Carlik Jones in Louisville, too, deserves a lot of consideration.
I thought he was the front runner, actually, a couple of weeks ago. But in this league, things have been changing. It's a block.
You know what is strange? We talked about this before the game. The Wooden Award has now been narrowed down to the late season 15. And there is not a single ACC player on that list.
It's stunning, really. And I don't have any disagreement with that because there have been so many excellent players throughout the country and leagues that have performed at a higher level.
And 3 Zags on the list, and you can't quarrel with it at all. Tippy belongs there, Suggs belongs there, and obviously Kispert belongs there.
And a couple of Illini, Kofi Cockburn, and Ayo Dosunmu.
And a couple of Villanova Wildcats, and again, just such a shame to see Colin Gillespie go down with an injury at this point of the season.
Well, you might be able to quarrel with one or two and say, okay, well, I would put an ACC player, maybe Matthew Hurt or Carly Jones, but overall, there's not a lot of argument to be had.
And still, Garza the clear front runner, right?
I think so, and I do think, and it probably shouldn't enter into it, but I do think that there's going to be some voters that bring in last year as well, that his performance last year, that he's been as good as anyone for the last 2 years. But to me, it would be Luka Garza of Iowa, Ayo Dosunmu of Illinois, and Corey Kispert of Gonzaga. Yep. Those would be the three that would be battling it out. Yep. And you could put Jared Butler from Baylor in there as well, because he's been so good at both ends of the floor.
I wonder if the pause and kind of the disjointed nature of their season hurts them a little bit.
It could. There's no question.
Armando Bacot at the line for Carolina. The sophomore is the leading scorer on the team at 11.5 points per game. The last time Carolina did not have a player score 12 points per game was 1946-47. Now, this is not a bad offensive team. They score 74 points per game. They just spread it around, and they don't have one guy who really lights you up. But it's kind of crazy to think nobody on the team even scores 12 a game.
Yeah. Well, that 47 team really shared the ball, too. A lot of different weapons.
You didn't play against them, did you?
No, but
Raftery told you stories?
Bill Raftery used to do their games.
Sorry, Bill, if you're listening. It was right there on the TV.
Wherever he is, I know the sound's off.
Inside 4 minutes to go. Carolina wire to wire in this one. Fun for the seniors. Probably fun for Roy Williams. Trying to end the regular season on a high note, and they are certainly on their way to an impressive win in Chapel Hill tonight. .com/PPV.
Adesanya was a kickboxer.
Was he?
Yeah.
You are a man of much knowledge.
Fights out of New Zealand. Now, I did not know what sub wins were. I know what Subway is because that's where you take me when we visit.
Boy,
Canada.
have you gotten a lot of mileage out of one mishap.
It was a big mishap.
It was an epic fail. Sub wins wins by submission, right? Not a knock. Okay. Right.
Tap out.
Yes. Kicked away by Bacot. Bounces right back to Baker. And laying it in is Williams.
Williams has got a lot of talent. His last 6 games coming into this one. That includes a game against Virginia where he barely played just because of matchups. But he's averaged close to 12 points a game, over 6 rebounds. He's blocking close to 3 shots, and he was 30 of 42 from the field in his last 6 coming into this game.
Jay, we asked Mike Krzyzewski yesterday in our Zoom call with him, what are the spirits of the players like? I mean, so many close losses coming in off a couple of overtime defeats. Not the kind of year that anybody who goes to Duke expects to have. This would be their 3rd loss in a row. They would have to play on Tuesday, the first day of the ACC tournament, against the 15 seed BC. How do you kind of rally the morale of a team?
It's difficult, and I think one of the things that compounds any issue that your team may have is the fact that these players are all living in isolation, so they can't really get away from some negativity, and that's difficult. Roy Williams made an interesting point yesterday about his team and his freshmen, is that North Carolina was only in in-person school for 6 days before the university had to shut down for COVID reasons, and everything went virtual. His freshmen don't really know where any of the buildings are on campus. That if he turned them loose today and said, hey, go find the dining hall, they wouldn't be able to do it. And that just shows you how different this year has been for athletes, that they're living in hotels. And that's a difficult thing.
Caleb Love having himself a day. Now 13 points and 7 assists for Caleb Love.
Well, he had 25 points in the last game between these two teams, 7 assists in that one as well. And he's got great strength. He's such a big, strong athlete. And I think as he learns to play the point guard position and he's made great strides, you're looking at an all ACC player in the future.
6'4", 195, freshman from St. Louis. Carolina, as we mentioned, not a good outside shooting team, but against Duke, they have shot the ball extremely well in both games, especially from beyond the arc. It's kind of crazy.
So instead of scheduling Marquette, schedule Duke a bunch more.
Jerry Baker looking for the foul. Kicked his leg out there. No call. Air ball back out to Moore. And another shot that is well off the mark. And Love wanted a call there on Coleman. Doesn't get it. It'll be Duke ball.
Yeah, that's where he just needs to back dribble and pass it. And that's sort of the learning process too. Getting pressure in a late game situation. You just back dribble away from the pressure and pass the ball. He lost it just as he was going into Coleman, but there was nowhere to go. If he back dribbles, then he can create some space and then shoot by. And I know that from all the players shot by me.
But each passing year, your playing days feel like more and more of a traumatic experience for you tell stories.
Yeah, like tonight on Senior Day, North Carolina gives the seniors a framed jersey. Duke gave me a framed pair of shorts because I did my best work sitting on the bench.
Well, somebody scored 1,062 points and had 692 rebounds. Love back of the line. Carolina will go into the ACC tournament as the 6th seed. Pretty dangerous 6th seed.
What was the high they could have been?
They could have been heading into today. They could have been anywhere, I think, between the 4 and the 8, depending on various results.
It's amazing spread there.
Virginia wins the regular season championship. They're the 1, obviously. Florida State the 2, Virginia Tech the 3, and Georgia Tech the 4. If you haven't seen Georgia Tech, they're feisty. They got a real spirit about them, and one of my favorite players in the league, Jose Alvarado, to watch.
Great defensive player and a terrific leader. Michael DeVoe, Jordan Usher. They've got good players, but Moses Wright really poor decision here, poor decision, different things like that. But overall, it was a very competitive performance and a strong performance by this North Carolina team. And one of the things that when you look at the numbers, that is really interesting about this game is the number of free throws. That Duke has had a real difficulty getting the free throw line all year long. And usually that's a place where the Blue Devils live. And they're one of the lowest volume free throw shooting teams in the country.
They come into the game today having attempted 74 fewer free throws than their opponents.
Yeah, I mean, their free throw rate is down in the lower third of Division I. And usually it's among the leaders in the country because of their aggressiveness in driving the ball and playing drive and kick basketball, attacking closeouts.
And as much as Williams is developing, they don't have a true, pure back to the basket, throw it into the post, get fouled every time. I mean, this guy is becoming a heck of a player and will continue to do so. But for much of the year, they haven't really had a true post presence as well. Hurt can play inside, but probably more dangerous outside.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, having Mark Williams establish himself as the 5 now. I mean, it's just good for his ability to protect the rim. I'm not sure how much it keeps Matthew Hurt out of foul trouble because he's fouled out of the last 2 games anyway. He's still got to guard sometimes bigger 4s. He's got to guard stretch 4s. And teams target him and try to go after him to pick up fouls and try to make him guard. That's what you do with a leading scorer is you try to make him guard. And so that's still been an issue.
We would expect to see Garrison Brooks pulled from the game before it ends. This is his senior night. Let him get an ovation such as it is from the 3,000 or so, but he deserves that after the 4 years that he's had in Chapel Hill. Look out. Harris corrals the pass and gets fouled. Andrew Platek, another one of the seniors who did start the game. And again, he's in the rotation. Looks like he's getting ready to come back into the game. And Roy's giving explicit instructions about who's taking who. And you got to believe that Garrison Brooks is just about ready to come out of this game.
Yeah, Platek, who I think we mentioned before, hit that game winner against Miami down in Coral Gables. He's had career highs and threes this year, played more minutes.
Well, maybe not. Platek for Walton. Leaky Black must be coming in for Harris, the shooter.
Well, maybe they put all the seniors in just to be able to take them out and get a nice hand for them. Well deserved, not only for tonight but for their careers.
And Brooks picks up his third.
Do you think next year, when we get back to whatever normal is, that coaches will go back to wearing coat and tie?
I hope not.
I hope not. I kind of like it.
Yeah. And as we know, Roy Williams has really taken the shoe game to another level this year.
He has been OG in that regard. Very impressive. I believe he's had a different pair every game.
And probably with all the pacing he does, probably more comfortable, right?
Well, you know how superstitious he is as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be if he wouldn't wear the sport coat or suit, if he suffered a loss, he wouldn't wear it again. Well, it'll be different. And we've never seen a tournament quite like we're going to see in Greensboro. And that goes for all the conferences.
Some teams looking to improve their seeds. Some got a couple of bubble teams looking to just have a chance to get in.
And some teams, honestly, Dan, some teams are worn out.
Yeah.
Worn out from the difficulty of the season, just not winning as much as they'd like, and then the difficulty, frankly, of dealing with this COVID.
Well, now Roy Williams is going to make the move. He'll bring a couple of the seniors back in KJ Smith and Walker Miller. And heading out eventually
by his teammates and coaches, but respected by the league. He's an incredibly well-respected player for the way he conducts himself and how hard he plays and what a good player he has been over his 4 years.
Boy, how nice was it? He rolled that ankle early, and he rolled it pretty good, but he was able to come back into the game and play well. And how nice for him to really be able to enjoy his senior night.
Yeah, and yesterday at North Carolina's practice, at the end of practice, we were able to see North Carolina great Kenny Smith, who was here to see his son KJ, also a redshirt senior in his last game in the Smith Center, if these players decide not to come back, which we're not sure what happens. But would have been nice if Kenny could have stayed around to see the game. He had to get to Atlanta for the All-Star game, but it was nice that he could be here for practice yesterday.
And you could see, Brooks getting a little bit emotional, kind of tears welling up in his eyes a little bit as he walks off this court for the last time.
It's meaningful, incredibly meaningful to play anywhere you get to play. It's meaningful, but you play at a place like North Carolina or Duke, and you play for Roy Williams or Mike Krzyzewski, Dean Smith, whomever. It's an unforgettable time period. What a great way to finish for North Carolina. That KJ Smith put that in.
Well, Kenny was here last night, couldn't be here because of work obligations today, but Kenny, we hope you'll watch it.
Number 30 can still score.
And there's Sterling Manley, a redshirt junior who's had a lot of injuries in his career because of the medical redshirt. He actually came in with the other seniors who started here at North Carolina. Now he's got a block at the other end, and good for him to have some fun.
That's quite an exclamation point for North Carolina on an emphatic win. And when you say dominant tap to buzzer, it applies in this one. Duke was never in this game. North Carolina took him out of it from the very beginning.
An impressive win for North Carolina as Garrison Brooks and company enjoy their senior night. Both teams are headed to Greensboro to find out